Hello.
Ian, I've got one question for you.
Ooh, hot, coming in hot here. All right, what do you got?
What's a good word?
Oh, it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty
Yeah,
good.
it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Yeah,
That's all I got for you. It's not great. It's
not great.
great.
Not
It's
great.
okay.
Okay.
Better than it was.
Is it the cyst on the wrist, or is it something else that's amiss?
You had that one. You had that one queued up for a week, didn't you?
No.
No, you had
Actually,
that queued up.
I've been thinking about other ones for a week, but that one literally just came to me in the
Just
moment.
organic. Wow, very impressive.
Thank you.
Very impressive. Cyst on the wrist is doing pretty good. Yeah, no, it's like it's basically normal. So they
Good.
hacked it and back to normal there. Guts are pretty much normally with this the medicine working, so that was good. Yeah, so that's all pretty good.
You're in tip-top shape.
I wouldn't go that far.
Nah, it's a little far. I was giving you a little credit there.
I'm still like, I don't know. There's like still, I would say I'm like 85%. Still something. I just feel like not totally back, I don't know. But I don't know if it's one of these like, your body goes through a big thing and then you're kind of like, just takes a while to recover still. I don't know. It's busy. Son's been home. He's going back today. A lot going on. But oh yeah, I mean, I've definitely been worse. So I'm not like, what's the, when you ask what's the good word? What's the bad response?
I think it's either
okay,
we're making it or
we're
hanging in there.
By, yeah. So I'm definitely above that. So that's
good.
Yeah. What's going on there at the Francis household?
Oh,
with all
man.
the children and
all the children,
wives and helpers and all the stuff.
Just the one wife, many children, one wife, many helpers. Not a whole lot. We did like a baby dedication thing at our church for the youngest two. It's like it's like the Protestant version of baby baptism. It's like we kind of just make it up because we don't super believe in baby baptism. So it's like we promise to raise our children in the church. Yeah, exactly. So that was nice. We had the whole both sides of the family showed up for church, and we walked down to the front with all the kids, and
it's always a production. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, such a production, but it was great. Lots of fun. Our families were there. Our home group, which is like our church group, was there, and so we got to see tons of people, and it was great. The kids did super great. The big ones, down front in front of the whole congregation, was kind of like, are they gonna freak out? And no, they didn't. It was fine. It was
they held it together.
They held it together. So nobody.
Is all your family nearby, or do people have to fly in?
Okay. No, everybody's nearby. Jennifer has one sister out in Lubbock who didn't come in for this because it was just a little thing. But yeah, everybody. My parents are here. Her parents are here. Her sisters are here, and my siblings are around here. I've got a few down in Houston area. But yeah, everybody's in Texas. If they weren't, we would leave.
There you go.
Out of here.
No way. You're not giving up that zero taxes. Come on. Nobody gives up zero taxes. I don't know.
I was just talking about this last night. We do like a supper club with some friends once a month.
Oh, nice.
And you can tell that like we're getting old because the topics are like, how do you get into preschool? And what's the deal with property taxes? And last night we were talking about property taxes, and they're freaking insane. They're insane down here. It's terrible. It's like 2.5-3% of appraised value every year, and so you just never own your property.
Right. I don't know what ours is. I guess it's 10. Yeah, it's probably around. It's about that 2 to 3%. I guess
2 to 3%, and you have state income tax.
Yeah. Don't come to New York. If you leave Texas, don't come to New York.
Don't worry. That was not on the table, my friend.
Don't go to New York City. You won't go to New York City because you have an extra,
I'd get pooped on. Yeah.
An extra 2% tax in New York City income tax.
2% income tax?
Yeah, city tax.
Levied by the city?
Yes. Yeah.
That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Pay a big privilege to live in the greatest place on earth.
To walk under scaffolding and get urinated on. That sounds awesome.
I've never been urinated on yet.
Yeah. You don't spend too much time in the city.
You must be attracted to the people. The people that you attract them in, the urinators. Like,
I guess.
That guy, he's so crisp looking. Yeah. Let's pee on him.
He's from out of town. Let's pee on him. I probably do give off a very out of town vibe when I'm in
It
New
could
York
be.
City.
Yeah, it
That's
could be. I don't know. I
definitely
can
it.
see you. There are guys who look like you there.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But I bet they're a lot I bet they're a lot harsher. I bet they're a lot more confident. They're just like bumping into people. I'm walking
Mm.
here, that kind of stuff, you
I
know?
have to tell you, the nicest people on earth are in New York City. You'll never have nicer street interactions in New York City. Everywhere else, nobody will talk to you, nobody will look at you. It's all
Hmm.
terrible. New York City, the people are used to being on the street. You see people helping people all the time.
I do
It's got
like
a bad
seeing the
rap in that
odd
regard.
the odd clip of like a mom trying to walk down or up from the subway,
Yes.
and somebody like grabs the front of the stroller without
Yes.
saying a word, walks up the stairs and walks off. I'm
And
like,
I've
that
literally
is
seen that myself. I've
that
seen it in
is
person.
that's perfect. I love
Yeah.
that. Like
It just
in
happens.
the argument between like kindness and niceness, that is kindness. Like
Right.
you don't have to be flowery or soft
Right.
or
It's
like,
not
oh,
superfluous.
it's just like, I will do this thing for you because it is kind, but I'm just gonna walk off. Like, we're not best
Yeah, exactly.
friends. It's not the
Right, right.
South.
It's obvious you needed this
Yes.
assistance. I'm gonna grab the front, we're gonna go down, and then I'm gonna
Yep.
go on my way, and that's it. Like, yeah,
Yep. I do love
exactly. Yep.
that. That part is great.
Yeah.
That is a nice thing about like, I feel like living in a big city like that, there is
Yeah.
more of a sense of like, we're living in a society, to quote
Definitely.
Jerry. It's
Right.
like,
I think
well,
so.
there are rules here, and oftentimes
Yes.
those rules get broken. But when you see the
Yes.
rules playing out like they should,
Yes.
it's like, yeah, this is a society. I like
Right.
this.
Yeah. Yes. It's so hard to have a society not in a city. This is one of the things where I'm very torn. And when we get older, I want to live in a city at least part of the time because yeah, I want the people like just not where you have to make like what you were just saying. Like I don't know, we don't have to force it. Like there's so much forcing it when you live in the suburbs or suburb-like places like you live
Thank
where
you.
you know what I mean. You have to force it. Like you can't just there's not serendipitous interactions on the same level. You know what I mean? Like
Here's my counterpoint though.
mm,
And you say there's too much forcing it. I say there's not enough forcing it, because
well,
people move out. People don't live within like bump in proximity of each other, and then they decide that like society is dead, or like you
right.
can't have friends. Like, oh, how do you have friends? The way that you have friends is you plan something.
Right, but that's what I
You
mean,
plan
right?
anything. You plan anything.
You have to force it, and then people don't
Force
force it, right? Because you know it's a lot of work to continuously force it, and then that's it.
to continuously be intentional about it. I don't think there's
Yeah,
like a force is like,
no,
hey, I'm having a supper club. I know that none of you want to come, but you have to come because of
right,
some weird like social rule. Like, organizing or being intentional about it is, hey, I know that everyone wants to get together and everyone's lonely all the time, and so I've planned
right,
this event. Does anyone want to come? And everybody's like,
yeah.
yes, I want to come. This is amazing.
We should
So
do something like that. We used to do stuff. We used to do events. We used to do parties. It does get so much harder as the kids get older. It's very counterintuitive. But like your age kids, we were at peak like doing stuff. And then once you get into like you're the chauffeur and you're
yeah,
driving people places and dropping them off, picking them up, and the stuff happens after school and the stuff happens later, and you're picking people up at 9 o'clock, and then it's like, do I really want to do the dinner party like
yeah.
at 8 o'clock on Saturday when all night during the week I've been out till 9 o'clock driving people around or doing whatever, running errands or going grocery shopping because there was no other time. Like it is much harder at that point, I will say. So I don't know,
Well,
but I do
all of
want to.
this.
I don't. We also get tired of forcing it. So there's some of that too. We got to get back into
Mm,
forcing it. So
we
people
got
do
it.
like it when you force it, like you're saying.
Well, yes, we got to get back into planning things. I agree.
Planning
I
things.
think planning things is hugely underrated, and I
Yeah.
think there's a latent demand for, like, everyone wants, I, with a broad brush, everyone wants to be doing something with friends, right?
Yeah.
Everyone is in some regard lonely and thinks that everyone else is doing stuff without them, when really everybody is all sitting at home thinking everyone's doing
For
stuff
sure.
without me.
Yeah.
And so the planners will inherit the world in terms of friendship, because they just like give people a reason to get together, and it's like, oh, this is amazing.
It is also there's this trickier bit I think as the kids get bigger because like you have and then for people like us now you're in the full tier of the work and you were before even remotely work whether you remotely work for somebody else or you work for yourself like you don't have work as the default like yeah I make friends at work right I
Yes,
even know
agreed.
yes I have friends who I work with you know in the employees I consider
Different,
friends but
yeah.
they're not coming over right like they're
Correct.
2,000 miles away. So
we're not going out for happy hour every other Friday.
right. So you don't have work as a default. Peak sort of kid parent friendship time is again the young kid age, like the preschool. I know you end up spending a lot of time at school, and so you end up being with the parents a lot. But again, once it gets kind of middle school and definitely by high school, like there's not like stuff at the school that the parents are all doing together and stuff. So you kind of don't make those newer connections with the parents. So you do end up in like, it's a little tricky of like, where do you actually meet people? Like, where do I go meet new people? It's not like such an easy question nowadays. And people aren't necessarily looking for stuff to do because people are busy. You have obviously phones and distractions, not, 100 years ago where people are just like, I walk up the street to my local place. Also, because we all live in the suburbs, so you can't walk up the street, which is like a whole other.
Can you imagine
walking
up the street?
Walking up the street would be so good.
Driving by all those big trucks that are spraying diesel exhaust on you. I don't understand how anyone does it.
They didn't have a diesel exhaust back then.
Everything
150 years ago.
Everything was just lead and fumes. So
yeah, exactly.
It's basically the same.
That was horse poop you were stepping in, but that was all right. So anyway, yes, it's all a complicated question. And then you're tired. You're old and you're tired.
Oh boy, you're tired. You're tired. Exactly. You're tired. I get that.
You just want to rest.
We just do once a month. We do once a month. We rotate houses
for the dinner party.
For the dinner party, and whoever's house it's at is responsible for everything. And so
I like that. I like that a lot. That's a good rule. It's a real good rule.
Once every 3-4 months, you have to cook dinner. Right. And dessert and wine or whatever for 8 or 10 people. But the other times, you literally walk in the front door without the pretense of like, hey, what can I bring? Can I bring a salad? It's like, that's I'm huge. Here. Feed me. I'm here. And it's great.
If everybody was potlucking it, then that's just like work for you every month. And that's annoying. Then you're annoyed. You're like, I gotta go get the stuff for the salad. And I forgot about that.
And, give me a break.
Okay, interesting. Now you got, so this is like 5 couples or something like that?
Something like that, yeah.
That's interesting. It's interesting. Okay. There's maybe something here. Jamie's listening to this. She usually listens.
Jamie, it's a good idea.
Maybe we should try something like this. Get some people together. Go ahead.
I was going to say, and it's easy. Like it's not intimidating to offer this to another set of couples, right? It's like, hey, y'all want to get together every now and then for dinner? Like we can start at my house, and then at that dinner, the first one, you can just say, should we do this again? This was great. Does anyone want to host next time? And then you're kind of you're kind of off to the races, You got to slow play it. You got to lure the people out of their hiding.
When are you going to do a course on this stuff? When are you going to do Southern hospitality? Southern hospitality with Aaron Francis. That's what we need.
The other one is guy's breakfast. You got to get a guy's breakfast.
Guy's breakfast.
Every 3 or 4 weeks, you get together with the boys and you have some bad tacos or some Waffle House or something.
We can't even get breakfast tacos here. This is the problem. If I could get breakfast tacos, maybe I'd do it. But
all those taxes and no tacos, that's crazy.
I know.
Yeah, that's the other one. You got to get a little guy's breakfast going.
Okay,
that's the good stuff, man.
Interesting.
Here's the trick to a successful guy's breakfast is it has to be a big enough group so that like 2 or 3 or 4 people not coming isn't a big deal. So you got to have like I want to say 6 to 10 people in the mix. It's kind of a hurdle to start.
It's a little tricky. I don't know if I go with that many guys.
I know.
But
you can start smaller if you have committed guys.
Try to build it up. Yeah.
You could. And then the other trick is it's got to be, you got to have a spot and you got to have a time. Because if it's like every now and then you're texting 6 or 8 guys and you're like, hey, when do you who can, it's never gonna work.
All right, you're never gonna organize. It's got to be a standing meeting.
Yes, you have to be comfortable with saying the first Friday morning of every month at 7 a.m. I'm gonna be at the taqueria or whatever, right?
Right.
And you have to be comfortable with being the only person there, because that will definitely happen. But there's something comforting about never having to ask, hey, is anybody going to this thing? Because you know that the organizer is always going to be there. So it's a nice way to
send reminders.
Yeah, you can send reminders. But it's a nice way to frame like, hey, I go to this place every first Friday or every other Friday for breakfast. If you guys want to join, I will be there at 7. And eventually people start to think like, oh yeah, I should go to that thing. I should go to that breakfast and see who's there. And it's like a way lower pressure than like having to organize on the fly every month or every couple weeks.
I like that idea. That's also another good Jamie idea. Jamie, that's a good idea for you. Because Jamie's into that kind of thing. I can see her. But it's the woman's version of the same thing. Woman's breakfast. It's just a standing thing, invite some people.
The standing thing is very, very powerful. We did back when I was quite young and single. I was 23 or 4 or something, and all my friends had just gotten married, and I had just moved back from College Station to Dallas, and I was like, man, everybody's married and like probably hanging out with their wives and stuff. So what am I going to do? And so I started there was this restaurant around here that did these awful, god awful $2 margaritas every Monday night. Just terrible. But when you're 23 and you're broke, you're like, $2 for a margarita?
Great.
That sounds awesome. So every Monday night, we would go to Ozona's and have $2 margs. And it just like expanded from 3 or 4 people to like 15 to 20 to 25, because
my goodness,
everybody wants to have a place to go. Like everybody wants to belong. And if you just know there's a group at Ozona's every Monday night at 8, people are going to show up.
You're just always bringing the people together.
Gotta bring the people together.
I'm telling you, I think this is a course. We're giving it away for free here, but most people haven't listened to this.
That's right.
You got to sell this. I think it would be a cool little side thing.
How to have friends.
Yeah. How to make friends and influence people.
That's right. That's a good title. I should write that down.
You should do that. I like this. All right. I do want to. This is like a thing, an area I'd like to push on a little bit. Definitely been coasting. I think not as engaged with the other humans as I should be. This is interesting. I build up a thing. I sort of have a thing similar to this with the PLO game I've been playing in recently, where it's like there's sort of a group that's generally there, and so that's kind of formed around this game. The thing with the poker people, though, is they're sort of degenerates, obviously.
Yes, they are.
It's sort of its own little world. It's not like people I would necessarily choose to hang out with, but it is a group of humans I do occasionally hang out with every other week or so. So there's a little bit of that, but it's not quite obviously the same as a nice group dinner with the wives and everybody together. So
upstanding members of society.
Yeah. I get both sides, yin and yang.
I will tell you, I was part of a regular poker house game for a little bit until I got disinvited. But I was a regular for a while. Yeah, it was great.
You crushing? You were taking all their money, so they disinvited you?
I was coming primarily as like a buffer, like as a favor,
as an extra
person, and I stopped being needed. They found like more people
regular.
So it was like my friend, probably my closest friend in the world, was hosting this game, and it's a bunch of attorneys, and he is also an attorney, and like they just didn't have enough people. And I'm a good everyman, I can yuck it up with the folks. And so I played for a long time, and it was great. We would start on it also got a lot harder after we had the second set, but it would start on like a Saturday at like 2 or 3, and we would play until 6 or 7, and we'd order pizza and then have drinks and sit around and talk for like 30-45 minutes, and then we would continue to play for a little bit after that. And it was great.
This guy. It was so fun. I didn't realize you were that hardcore into the poker. Okay, all right.
I easily every time lost $50 to $100. So yeah, it was great. I love the game.
What kind of tourneys are these playing for low stakes like that? Come on, they got up the stakes a little bit here.
I don't know. You just you don't.
Keeping it friendly.
Yeah, you can't have a fun, friendly house game for $1,000. That's not quite as fun.
I guess so. That's what all the juice is, though.
Yeah, well, that's where you go to the poker rooms with the Degens that aren't your friends that you can
take their money,
ruthlessly crush. Yeah,
it is kind of great taking your friends' money though too. There's something glorious about taking your friends' money.
Just having your money taken by a friend, which is the experience I have had, is less fun. I must admit. I'm sure it's great to be on your side.
Oh man. All right. What's going on? What do we got this week? I think
Let's
it's gonna
talk
be
some
more
tech.
technical. We're gonna
Yeah,
be technical this week.
you put a tech topic on here. Let's start with
I
yours.
did.
What do you got here? Tell me.
So a while back on Blue Sky, I think um Marcel maybe
Okay.
posted about performance issues in Laravel and who's seen performance issues,
Mm-hmm.
so on and so forth. And I've never really seen any with Laravel that I would other than components. Like if you
Mm,
have a bunch of components on a page, then
mm-hmm.
it doesn't
Blade
go well
components.
usually. Yeah, blade components.
Yep.
So
Okay.
um whatever, put in my 2 cents, and a guy showed up who he's been around for a
I know
while.
this guy.
Yeah, what's his name? I
I don't
can't
know,
know.
but I know his face
Mike,
and I know his avatar.
Jonathan Coster.
Yep,
Yes,
there you
Jonathan
go.
Coster.
That's exactly
So
right.
yeah, so he's been around a while. Yeah, I know his face, interacted with him here and there on Twitter and whatnot. And so he said he was working on a package to fix this, and he released it today, and it's called Dagger.
He released it?
And yes, it's released. And so you can
He is
check
the
it out.
Blade. He is the Blade Whisperer.
Yeah, he has another package that does some Blade stuff, I think.
And I think he has the the like syntax or like code style formatter for Blade. Like he's the only one that's ever been able to do it. Because Blade is not real. It's just a bunch of
Right,
regexes.
right, yeah, right. So it's very well documented. There's a bunch of docs, and I haven't gone too deeply in it, but the basic idea here is that you make a Dagger component instead of a Blade component, and it basically
Great,
works like
love
a
it.
Blade component. But it basically has a whole pre-compilation step so that everything's pre-compiled, so that no matter how sort of deeply nested things get, it's all pre-rendered and figured out. And so I think there's also no class-based components, which I assume would be much slower because then you'd have to like instantiate the class always, which is, I think, is kind of what gets Blade components into trouble. Is like if you have to instantiate 2,000 classes, then that just takes a long time. So yeah, so it renders everything out into, like, I assume, I haven't looked this deeply, into, various loops and things, and pre-renders the template into the Blade template in some fashion. And so it's all there, and so it can just do normal PHP stuff instead of, again, the instantiating classes. And yeah, and so that's your high performance Blade component. And so I think it's really cool. I mean, I think he had even interacted with Taylor a little bit. I don't know if
I
he
remember.
updated Taylor yet about the idea of maybe doing, obviously Taylor, I think, would like in core to have a faster version. Because I think even on his end, this is one of the things that comes up most in terms of Laravel performance. Because it's just something that can hit you without any load at all. It's just like you could just be working on your local machine. And if you have, especially things like data table or whatever, that just has all 300 rows of a data table, and every cell's a component, it's just gonna be slow a lot of the time. And so yeah, so I think doing it as a package is kind of interesting, and then see how it goes. Maybe at some point either it gets pulled in or it gets Otwelled a bit into something that could work in the core. But I don't know, I think it's pretty interesting. I don't know, have you hit this issue?
I haven't. No, because I haven't done a lot of Blade components, and to my knowledge and my understanding, you can get hit with this pretty easily when you're using Livewire, which is no fault of Livewire's, but when you're using Livewire, you've got a ton of, like, you're relying pretty heavily on components, and presumably you have a lot of like interactivity, and you've got you're doing a lot more with Blade once you pick up Livewire. And so some of Blade's shortcomings become more obvious when you're using Livewire. Again, that is not a Livewire problem, that is a Blade problem. So I just found Dagger. It's on GitHub, so I was just looking through it. Here's a good bet for us. How long until let's get his name right, John Coster is a Laravel Inc. employee? That's the real question.
Everybody gets hired by Laravel Inc. Yeah, I don't know about that. It could happen, right? Hopefully for him it happens. That would be good.
Definitely gonna happen. Are you crazy?
I don't know if he's what his employment situation is, but yeah, assuming this all works, which I don't have any reason to believe it doesn't, then
he's totally gonna become the Blade Czar for sure.
Yeah, just have him in charge of Blade. I like
because
it.
I think he's the only one that has written like I don't know if it's an LSP because I don't know what an LSP is, but he's the only one that's written like a Blade parser to any degree.
Mm,
He's obviously conquered this Blade performance stuff. And I remember Taylor at one point tweeting like, I'll give you $10,000 if you can
right.
like do this thing.
Fix
And I was like,
this.
oh damn,
Yeah.
Blade must be an issue here.
Yep.
So I don't know. This is a job application and a very, very good one.
Yeah, the docs are quite impressive. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
they are.
like
This
a
is the
lot
real
of stuff
deal.
is covered in there. And it also is like there's some interesting stuff where it's cross compatible with things like I think some of the like push and the
Uh-huh.
stacks and things like that
Uh-huh.
work across, and because I assume it just compiles it into like the Blade version in the rendered template or whatever. So
Mm-hmm.
so you can kind of like intermix a lot of that stuff. Yeah, I don't know. It looks good. We might have a need of something like this ourselves. I haven't had direct need of this in a while, but with some of the like HelpSpot update to Flux,
Mm-hmm.
could possibly use this depending on how we end up building that out. But yeah, I don't know. So I
Mm.
thought it was cool. It's been a while
This
since
is
I've been
cool.
intrigued by a package. So yeah, I saw this and I was like, oh man, this is like hopefully I hope he gets hired, and then I hope it comes into the core, because I just think Blade should just always be really fast. It's like
It should be.
it's one of the only
Yeah.
areas that's not blazing fast, and it is for kind of your standard use case. But like you said, when you get into interactivity, whether it's Livewire or just other sorts of big rendering of it's like one of those things where like in your fake hello world type
Mm-hmm.
things you see, it's like, oh, it's all fine. But then when you actually build something, and it's like the customer wants
Yep.
1,500 rows or
Yep.
5,000 rows, and they want it all on one screen, right? Then that's a whole different world, right? Then it's like,
Yep.
oh, well, when you render 5,000 rows with 10 columns, that's a zillion cells, and each one of those
And
is a
each
Blade
cell has an icon and a
thing, and then each one has an
postfix, and
icon on top of it. Yeah. So now you're rendering like 50,000 component renders, and it
Yep.
actually performs like crap. Yeah, I think that would be cool to get that as like, in some way the idea is a bit integrated, it's self-integrated, whatever the case may be, assuming it works. But I'm sure, like you said, I know Taylor's been for a while. I know they actually did some work. I think they got it quite a bit faster.
I think they
I
did.
want to say in Laravel 11 or something, they did make some improvements in 10 or 11 that did help it a lot. But yeah, I think obviously this kind of pre-rendering idea seems to me to be probably the only real way to do it.
I think probably so. I
Yeah,
missed. Is there a build step?
there is some kind of build step. And then there's like a JSON file that's like it's
I noticed there's a
cache.
manifest, which makes me
Oh,
think
the
there's a build
manifest, yeah.
step.
Yeah, there definitely is. But I don't know if it's just happening dynamically in some way. It's just, you might not have to overtly build it. I don't think I've
It's
seen a thing that's
runtime
like build it.
built.
I think so. I think if it checks and it sees something changed or something like that,
Good. That's a
then
good way
it'll
to
do
do it.
it. But I
Yeah,
don't.
it
I'm
doesn't look
totally
like
making this up right now.
I
I
don't
just
see
haven't
like a
seen a
build
thing.
runner or anything.
Right. I would think like at the top here would be like, then you have to run this console command or whatever to
No,
rebuild.
installation merely says require it, run Dagger install, and that's it. So
Yeah.
there's not like a build process or a build script or anything.
Yep.
Good for him.
Yeah. So anyway, that's a little Laravel corner there. Thought that looked pretty cool. You have a similar one on here.
I do. It's the year of Laravel again for like the past
Love
10 years. Have you been following Simon Hamp's explorations for native PHP on iOS?
A little bit. I have. Yeah. I haven't
Yeah.
like gone super deep on it, but I see him posting about it, and I'm like, this sounds insane, but
It does
also
sound
is
insane.
intriguing. Yeah.
That's why I like
Everybody,
it.
this is the year of the like, where can we push
What if?
Laravel? Yeah, into weird place. What if the terminal did all kinds of stupid stuff?
Mm-hmm.
What if we ran
Cool
Laravel
stuff.
in iOS app?
Yep.
I'm saying stupid in the in the good
awesome
way.
90s
Yeah,
kind of way. Yeah,
exactly. In the 90s
yeah, I
way.
get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So native PHP, from as far as I understand it, has kind of a weird history. I don't actually know who's like in charge or like started native PHP. I feel like
I
Simon
didn't think it was
did.
him, right?
I
Did he
know.
start
I
it?
can't tell.
I
I
feel like
thought
he
it was
didn't, but then
Simon.
he
But then
talked
I
about
thought
it
it
like
was
he did, but
Marcel. I know.
yeah, yeah, I thought it was Marcel. I thought Marcel was in the loop here somehow, but I
I
never see
know.
Marcel talking about it, and I only see Simon
Never.
talking about it.
Where'd he go?
So I don't
I
know if
I
then I
don't
was like, did I
know.
make that up? Maybe I made it up and it was some other because Marcel does 18 million things, right? So I
He
don't know.
does.
He could just be it could have been some other thing that was very similar to this, but isn't this? And
No,
I'm
it
not
was
just
definitely
confused.
this. Marcel
Okay.
spoke on native PHP desktop at one of the Laracons that I
Because
was
this is
at.
how they do herd, right?
I don't actually think Marcel
I
has
think
shipped
so.
any native PHP. I don't think Herd is native PHP. I
No,
think
I
it's
think it
Swift.
is.
I'm pretty
Nah,
sure
you
that that is
think?
not true.
I
I'm
think
pretty
it's
sure
native
that's not true.
PHP. Really?
I think that is not true.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. There was a time when I was gonna tinker with a desktop application and I asked
Hmm.
Marcel, should I use native PHP? And he said no, not yet. So I don't think Herd that they're
Yeah.
shipping and charging people for is native PHP. So
Okay.
I think this is gonna be 100 well, there's 100% chance that this is wrong.
Mm.
But I think Simon started native PHP and then Marcel came in and they like ended up partnering up and helping. And now
Okay.
Simon is running PHP native PHP iOS. I don't know if
Okay.
that's right. That's kind of
It could be.
my memory. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So it started on the desktop, and then Simon has been pushing to get PHP running on iOS, such that he can build, full-featured applications on mobile using PHP,
It's
which
wild.
is wild. And like,
I guess it's
I
just
think,
rendering HTML, right? Like I
yeah.
assume. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So the real question is, will it get through iOS approval, which is the
Right.
process he's currently in right now? Because if it gets booted for having executable code that's like runtime executable, I think
Right.
they don't like that very much. So
That's my understanding. Yes.
yeah, we'll see if it gets through. I hope it gets through because he's given a talk on it at Laracon EU. So I hope it works.
Yeah. Because
But
isn't
it
this the
would be,
problem that the emulators have, like game
yeah,
emulators and stuff? They're like, no, because you have the runtime executing, and then
yeah,
that opens up a million,
yeah.
security
I
holes and all
think
that.
from what I've seen, I think he has said that all of the executable code is shipped in the binary, and there's no way to send new stuff over the wire to execute.
Mm,
And I think that's the issue that most of these run into is like, hey, we'll
yeah.
just ship a web view and then we'll render whatever we want from a remote server. And they're like, no, it's not really an app.
Right. If you want to pull in new PHP code that you dynamically execute, and then
Right.
that's the problem. Yeah.
I think that's
Hmm.
the problem. So hopefully he gets by and that doesn't become, a sticky wicket, because that's
That'd be cool.
kind of game over if it is.
Right.
Not a lot of point in pressing forward if you can't publish it.
No,
But I'm excited. I think if he pulls it off, it'll be really interesting.
for sure.
And it really makes it makes Livewire a much more interesting option to use on mobile, because the server and the thing, like the front end, are 0 milliseconds apart. And so
Right.
using Livewire on native PHP and iOS would be really interesting, because
Yeah.
you get to stay all in PHP. There's no round trip server penalty beyond just internal network hops, which should be fine. And you can do anything. And so I'm excited. I hope he pulls it off. And I still want to build a desktop app with native PHP, but I don't know the status. It seems like it's kind of stalled out or slowed down a little bit.
Yeah, well, this would presumably bump it up, right? If this works. And it's cool because they're definitely, I mean, I think nowadays by default people kind of want to build mobile apps, right? It's desktop apps are interesting for specific edge case use cases, but if you had most people want to build a mobile app as if you're building a native app. And yeah, and I think I've definitely had mobile app ideas, but it's to get in there and learn Swift or whatever, that's adds just a huge learning curve
Not
that
gonna
I don't
happen.
have time to mess with. And so yeah, if you could build out a V1 that's maybe if it's not optimal, it can't literally do everything Swift could do, or it's a little slower or whatever, who cares? Because it's just V1, and if it takes off, you can always build a proper, fully native everything version.
Yep.
Or if this just works fast enough and you never have to do that, even better. But definitely for that prototyping early versions, to be able to stay in PHP would be super nice, make it all much more doable. So
Mm-hmm.
even things for like with HelpSpot, we want to do at some point, like, having mobile apps is such a pain in the butt. We don't really focus on them because it's not like a main thing. It's not, most of the users don't use the mobile apps, so it's like
Yep.
this edge thing. So it's like, well, do we just do the responsive, progressive, web UI type of thing, which is fine. But then like the users who do use it, obviously they don't necessarily know how that all works, which you could help them, blah, blah, but it's still like a weird sort of thing. And it would be cool if you could maybe have, even just to making a shell app, this would be nicer than
Mm-hmm.
like the other ways you could build a shell app, which are really kind of annoying and have some
Yeah.
weird downsides themselves. So yeah, even for like other simple use cases like that, it could be really cool to know that like, hey, PHP is in there, and if we want to tweak some stuff, we know how to write it and all that stuff. So yeah, I don't know, it's interesting.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm pumped to see what he's going to speak on, or the demos he's going to do at Laracon
Yeah.
EU. I think it's going to be fun.
Did Laracon EU, did we get a schedule yet? No schedule yet. They're going to the last minute here with the
Last
schedule.
minute, no schedule.
No schedule.
You hate to see that.
How's your stuff going? Are we ready? Are we ready with the new library?
Ready? What is ready? No, we're not ready. So let's see. Do you remember what percentage done I was last week?
You had gone from 80 to 50.
All right,
Something
let's
like
knock
that.
off another 10. We're 40% done now. Yeah.
Well, you're heading the right direction.
We're heading the right direction. It is the road expands before me continuously, but it's very good.
Okay.
If I may, with it. Yes, if I may pat myself on the back, it is quite good. I'm very happy with it. I have gone deeper into the depths of darkness than I expected in terms of how this is working.
This is your theme the last few months here.
Boy, isn't it? I've got so I won't spill any of the good stuff, but let's just say I've got JavaScript code that writes JavaScript. I've got PHP code that writes
nothing
PHP.
Could go wrong there. Mm-hmm.
I've got JavaScript code that writes PHP, and I've got PHP code that writes JavaScript. So I got the whole quadrant covered. That's right. Everybody is writing everything all the time.
Okay.
And it's great. I'm doing parsing of PHP abstract syntax trees.
Oh my goodness.
It is. We're all over the place, baby, and it's good. It's very good. I'm excited. I showed it to Steve. Steve is kind of like my avatar for this. Like if I can get Steve interested, then I know I've got something good. And I texted him a screenshot last night, and he said something like, "This is it. Holy crap. Like, this is the way I want to learn Laravel." And I was like,
oh, man.
I got him.
Oh, boy. Holy cow.
I got Steve.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I'm excited for us to get out there so we can have a proper conversation.
I know.
This sounds like something that's going to require quite a bit of maintenance.
Whoops.
Quite a bit of maintenance. Does not sound like you throw it up there and it's good to go. No. I'll be intrigued about that whole end of this story here.
Yes, and I think it's becoming more as I get closer on it, and as Steve and I talk about it more and more, I think it is becoming more of a pillar of the business. So it's not just going to be like, hey, let's do this to get attention and then sell database courses. I think this is becoming more of a leg of a proper like operating unit
with it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, you can't give us any more juice right now, so we're gonna have to find something else.
Sure
but
can't.
Soon, let's see. Oh wait, so let's see. That's 2 weeks away. I guess 2 weeks. 2 Mondays from now.
Not great. Not great.
Have you started the talk yet? In your head, at least.
The answer is no, but yes, in my head. In my head, I've run through 5 or 6 different openings, and I think I found one. I think I found one that's gonna work. Because you really gotta, with a big reveal, you gotta wow them. Because if you do a big reveal and it's like, boy, that guy is kind of an idiot. So I think I have a good opening and a good powerful initial demo, and then we can kind of get off into the weeds. But I think it's gonna work.
You got 30 minutes, 40 minutes.
I think 20.
20 minutes?
I know.
Whoa.
I asked Kaneko,
That's
I was
really
like, hey,
tight.
how long are these talks? Because I had no idea how long the talks were.
Right.
And he was like, 20 minutes. And I said,
Ooh.
I've got a little bit more than that. And he's like, oh, don't worry. We're not going to pull you off the stage. You can go 25. And I'm like, first of all, what is with these lax rules? Rules are rules.
Everybody go 25, then you're gonna have it's gonna be an extra 2 hours at the end of the day. Like
unbelievable. Rules are not made to be broken; they're made to be followed. So, yeah. So I'll probably push right up to 25, and then still not have enough time to cover it all.
Wow,
So
there may be niceties there. You're gonna have to really jump in.
I know. There's always time for jokes, but there's not going to be time for like a lot of stories or anything.
No stories.
There's a chance I'll do like 10 to 15 minutes of live coding and then 5 to 10 minutes of slides to just be like, here are all the other things we can do.
Right.
Because, live coding by its nature takes a little bit longer than just like next. So yeah, that's my current like rough outline is I'll do a slide opening.
Coding.
Yeah, of course.
With 20-minute talk, you can
gotta
do live coding.
It. Come on, no risk, no reward. So do an opening with a few slides to hit them with the pizzazz right off the bat. Hop into the editor, show them that it actually works. Hop back out, breeze through some stuff, blow some minds, kiss some babies, shake some hands.
I like it.
Yeah, that's the goal.
Oh man.
Oh,
I'm nervous
man.
for you. I'm nervous.
I'm nervous for me too. This is where the magic happens, though. When you're down and out, and you think you can't do it. This is where it happens.
You fly in Sunday or Saturday?
Who knows?
Monday
Kelsey
morning.
Booked it all.
Monday
Kelsey
morning, right
booked
onto the stage.
Yeah. Let's see. What's today? No, that's not right. Yes, I check in. I fly in. It looks like I get there. Oh, it's hard to say because I don't understand time zones at all. But I get there Sunday morning Amsterdam time.
Yeah, kind of wish you were going in Saturday.
Oh man,
use a day. You get that day.
I feel like I could use a day.
Although maybe you're not talking till Tuesday. Do you know for sure you're talking Monday?
Hard to say. There's no schedule yet.
There's no schedule.
We don't know.
You know, so you don't know.
I don't know.
So, all right. So maybe you will have an extra day. Who knows?
Maybe we'll find out.
That's worse, though. You don't want to be the extra day to be the first day of the conference. You'd rather go the first day.
No.
I
think I would rather be early on the first day or maybe late on the second day. Is that wild?
I would never want to be late on the second day. Voice is going to be gone. You have all that talking to people in between the Monday night, whatever goes on.
Yeah. I think I would always rather go on the first day.
I'd always rather go on the first day for sure. Definitely.
Because then the after dark party is typically after the first
you get
day,
to blow up a little steam, you get to relax, get to hang.
You get to go to the loud bar and shout in each other's faces.
You can have a $2 margarita, whatever.
Love a $2 marg.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, Kaneko, if you're listening, I want to go on the first day. Also, let me know when I'm going.
Is Kaneko like the official full showrunner at this point?
Ian, that's a good question. I have no idea.
Okay.
We have no clue. We've got no clue.
Talent.
I just show up. Yep.
Tell you where to go the day of. You will be there.
Put the mic on and push me out the door, and I go out and do the thing. Yeah.
I like it.
Kaneko's the one that's communicating with us. I am not clear if he is running, like organizing it, or if he's just emceeing it, or what. I have no idea.
Stuff happening. Clue. People will be there.
People will be there. Yeah, my job is to show up. I hope people will be there. I've been in the opposite situation before.
Well, I think it'll be more than 5 or whatever.
It'll be more than 5. Yes, I do think that is correct.
I think you're in the clear there.
Yeah, I think so.
You got they still haven't made the Laracon the multi-track, so they're holding on to the single track. So
please hold on to the single track. Please keep the single track alive. I don't like multi-track.
I think you could do like a hybrid-y where like maybe for like one of the mornings there's like a few different tracks or something. Maybe
I would be fine with
the whole thing.
I like the shared experience of the single track conference.
It is nice. You can have the conversations with people at night are much cleaner because everybody has the same
context. Yeah.
The other thing about the first day is everybody's there the first day. The second day, not everybody's there sometimes.
People are cruising out.
There's just always less people the second day.
Nope. Hate that.
So that's the other thing where first day is kind of nice. You get the maximum.
Mm-hmm. That
I don't know.
happened.
You
That
think?
happened to me at Laracon EU the first time I spoke.
Oh, really?
I was the last speaker, and Taylor and Abigail had left by then. I was like, God
Oh, geez,
freaking dang
everybody's
it! This
gone.
was my big coming out
Everybody's gone.
party, and he was gone.
They're like, Eric, can you turn off the lights on your way out the door here, buddy?
Yeah. You don't have to sweep up, but it sure would be
Right.
nice if you
That'd
did,
be
big guy.
nice.
Yeah.
There is a little fee if we don't sweep up, so if you could just hit it once with the broom, that'd be great.
Yeah, that's
Um,
too bad.
yeah, I just saw a thing about a lot of conferences dying off, and
I
you
saw
think
that
like,
too.
yeah, it's like the post-COVID. You would think maybe that they're going to come back, but they haven't really come back, and they're kind of going the other way. And I don't know. I think there is something there.
You're a
I don't know.
conference guy. What's your take on that?
I don't know. I think it is weird. Maybe as people go back to the office, there'll be more of a taste. Because the whole thing with conferences is it's like the businesses, nobody's going paying for a conference on their own. Everybody only wants to go to a conference if it's a write-off,
Correct.
or it's not their money in some fashion.
Right.
You know, they
The
have
work
some budget.
vacation.
It's a work vacation. Work is sending them. So I don't know. It is a tricky case. It's hard for me to kind of put myself in the big company mindset at this point, but I do think there is probably a little bit of a tricky case. Like if you're already working from home, now we're sending this conference. People are
Mm-hmm.
dubious about what you're doing to begin with, sometimes potentially. And so, like, I
All
don't
you're doing
know.
is taking pictures and putting them on Twitter about
Yeah,
partying with your
exactly.
friends. Like,
So
your
I
bosses
don't
can see
know.
that.
Maybe as people, it seems like we're going to be swinging back to like a lot of people working in the offices here. So if that happens, I could see that maybe helping. You know, some people have the theory it's like budget tightness. I don't know if I buy too much into that because it's just like it's not that much money. It's not like this is not moving the needle that much if you're like have some no conference edict at your company. So like
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about that. I feel like it's a subtler, some more like cultural, more people feel like they get a lot of information and don't necessarily even want to go even for the workcation
Right.
because it's like whatever, I have access to all these resources, all this video stuff in Devland. Like everybody knows you're not learning a lot at the conference at this point. Like, you know, hopefully you pick up a nugget or two, but you're not like going there and now I know React after I come home. You know what I mean? Like maybe you get
No,
your
it is not.
appetite wet, but
It's not the best medium to learn hard technical stuff in depth.
yeah. Especially with the dev stuff.
Never has
Yeah.
been. Yeah.
Yeah, because I feel like marketing and stuff like that has a little advantage there. 'Cause it's like, oh, I can learn about like this technique
Yes.
in 30 minutes and now I know it. Like I literally know the technique and now I can go implement it. Whereas like in the dev stuff, it's not really like that. It's like, yeah, if it's like a new language, okay, I'm just literally getting a taste and now I know there's 100 hours work beyond that if I want to actually learn it. Or even if it's something you know, like pretty much anything above like, hey, this is a package that does this. Okay, fine. Like now I know about that. But anything else, I'm still gonna still more work there. It's still always just kind of setting you up with some knowledge as opposed to giving you a complete picture of something.
Which I think that point is the most salient in terms of like education is it's exposing you to something that you wouldn't perhaps
You
have
wouldn't
sought
go
out on your
find.
own.
Yeah,
So
for
I'm
sure.
thinking back to like what's a good one? Like Jake Bennett's State Machines talk at I think it was maybe Laracon Nashville or maybe Laracon Dallas. I don't know.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like I've heard about state machines. I've never sought out education on state machines,
Right.
but like watching his talk made me realize, oh, I should use state machines
That's
more.
useful.
This is really valuable. And
Yep.
so stuff like that I think is super valuable. A great educational reason to go to conferences, but I don't even
Yep.
think education is the reason to go to conferences.
Right. So that brings us to like the main reason, which is the networking, meeting
Yes.
people, which I assume is your take as well. But again, that gets weird. That's where like you have these subtleties from the business perspective. It's like, what am I paying for? Like I'm paying for you to go meet people.
You to go get your next job.
Right.
What?
Yeah, I'm paying for you to
Yeah.
get your next job. I'm paying for you to make these connections. Again, in other avenues, I think there's more of a pure business case. I think as a developer, I don't think the business case is kind of weak for like, well, if I know these 10 other people, that's going to bring some type of tangible value back to my current job. You know, I don't know, maybe.
I can't make the business case for it because I don't have a bunch of employees that want to go to a conference that I'm paying for. But I can make the personal case for it all day, every day. So that is the hard part. Because I think as an individual, you should go to as many relevant conferences as you can or as you want to, because like, yes, being on social networks is great because you like get to kind of, you know, make some friends there, but going to a conference and actually meeting the people and hanging out with them and like getting to know them on like a personal level, that is 10 times better than just hanging out on Twitter. And you come back and you're able to like message all these people and start these groups and start a podcast and work on projects together because like, you know, these people. And so I think the personal case for going is maybe one of the most high leverage things you can do, like for your career, is like go meet the other people that are crazy enough to go to one of these conferences.
Yep, totally agree. Definitely. All the people I've met at conferences over the years, you just make a whole different type of connection that then and it even helps you in social media and all these other places. If you release a package, whatever, like having had those in-person connections, those are the people who will then really like cheer you on the hardest a lot of times. So yeah, definitely from the personal perspective, it's certainly worth doing. But then I feel like people don't necessarily want to pony up for that. I don't know. Do they pony up personally? I wonder how many people do that. You know,
I don't know. It's expensive.
I'd be curious to know, like at Laracon, how many people are paying their own way.
Yeah, it's interesting you said like it helps you on social media, because I do find this weird thing where it's like, oh, I met this person in real life, and I go find their Twitter and they've got like 32 followers, and I'm like, doesn't matter. I like this person.
Right. Yeah,
I met them.
exactly.
I like them. I'm gonna follow them. We're friends now. And it's just so interesting because I'll see a stranger on Twitter and I'll go and I'll click on their profile. I'll scroll their feed to be like, what do you tweet about? Do I want to see that? Oh, what such a rigorous process of like adding someone to my following because I don't want it all clogged up. But then, you know, I meet somebody at a conference and I like them and I'm like, sure, yeah, that's great. I love it. Yeah, very interesting.
That's it. The other, I mean, we probably talked about this before, but the other big thing about conferences, just on a personal note here, is you want to try to be a speaker sometimes.
Oh,
like, you just got to push yourself and be a speaker.
Yes.
Or in some way involved, like if you want to go to conferences or whatever. But like anytime you're in some type of elevated position at the conference, it just greases the wheels of everything. And everybody knows you. Everybody comes up to you. Everybody follows you on social media, all this stuff. You get all the benefits when you are a speaker or somehow involved in the production in some way. Big advantage. So once you get comfortable going,
huge advantage. Yes, big time.
And it never goes bad. Like, you know what I mean? Like a handful of talks ever where it's like it went bad. You know, it's like even when it goes bad, it's not that bad. Like it's fine. And
even when it goes bad, everybody's on your side and like, God, I cannot believe that happened. Like,
especially in our ecosystem, I feel like it's not like there's a lot of like people who are then gonna, you know, beat on you for being an idiot or whatever. Like it's a pretty positive community. So that's the thing though, there's not that many events. So that's where like that part's sort of tricky. It's nice when there's more events, then you have more speaking slots, of course, but obviously Laravel Inc. can only do so many.
We got to do a mostly technical conf, and it's got to be like microconf, but back in like 2012.
Right. Well, that's where it's like. So this is where the economics of it are very tricky with the reality, which is the ideal conference is like 90% networking. It's like a lot of networking, or I think talks that are even maybe in a little different format, or maybe some more impromptu kind of talks. That used to be a big thing back in the like early 2000s. Was like I forget what unconference type things, right? You just sign up for a room and it's like, I'm just going to talk about this. Like that's how I saw the jQuery launch. He was like, hey, I'm launching this thing. And I just went into that room and I saw him launch jQuery, right? And it's like, that's cool. Man. So like, it's like lower commitment for the speakers because it's not like your name's plastered and there's an expectation. It's like, while you maybe prepared something, nobody necessarily knew you were preparing something and you just signed up and it's like, whoever's there. So yeah, so you want that, but then again, how do you get people to pay for that is a little trickier because like when you go to your boss, like, hey, it's this conference, we're like, there's no learning, like it's not. It's like
there's no agenda. It's called an unconference. It's just a hangout. Okay,
it's a hangout.
Get
we're
back
gonna go
to
hang
work,
out with a bunch of people.
Yeah,
exactly. So it's a little tricky there, but I mean, you can always hedge that a little bit because if you do it like things like do it in New York City or do it in San Francisco, like
San
maybe
Francisco.
Dallas.
Maybe Dallas.
Dallas pull it off. I don't know. But where you have a lot of developers already. So like just from the city, you could get the 200 or 300 people you need to kind of do it.
Yeah.
Even if nobody flew in, and some people will fly in. So I think that type of thing can help, although it's also very expensive to do it in those big cities. So
Or
that's
what is
a hedge.
Tailwind's doing? Tailwind's doing something in
Yeah,
Miami. That's
yeah,
conference-esque, but not,
right.
right? That's like
Hmm.
a meetup
The
plus
one night
plus.
only. I
Yeah,
kind of like that for us, actually. One night only. When you get multiple days, adds like 4 times the work. If it's like
it
one
does.
day, this is what it is. It's like 6 hours. I mean, their thing's only even going to be this next one coming up is only going to be like 100 people or something. He said too.
Yeah.
So it's even like kind of just a lighter hangout sort of thing. I kind of like that. That could be interesting.
Could be
Something like
interesting.
that. Yeah, I really like the idea of a 1 day thing. Actually, it's just a lot less. It's a lot less overhead.
Yeah, that would be great. 1 day thing with a like pseudo official lunch the day of. So if
Right.
people get in early and want to like go to lunch and hang out, and
Some
there's a hang
chow,
space, then
hang
there's the
space.
event, and then a pseudo, official,
Like
unofficial lunch the day
after,
after.
yeah.
And so
Yeah, like a
if you want to
gathering the day
stay
after.
around
Yeah,
the day after
yeah.
and go to out to lunch or to the zoo or whatever people do,
Yeah.
you could do that. But yeah, I like that. We'll
That could be
think
interesting.
noodle on that for
Yeah, let's do it.
developers who are business people as well.
Right. All right. Give us your comments on that down below, as the kids
Yeah,
say.
mostly technical conf.
Hey, so if TikTok goes away, do you care? Are you a TikTok man? I don't think we've ever talked about TikTok.
I've never been a TikTok man.
Okay.
Nope.
I'm not a TikTok man either.
Don't care.
So
Don't even care a little
we
bit.
never let the kids don't have social media accounts. I'm sure they get some social media here and there, but they don't have accounts, so doesn't
Just
matter on that front either.
whatever you let them have, don't let them have TikTok. Forget the like. I don't follow enough because I don't care. The like, is it Chinese? I'm led to believe it
Right.
is some sort of Chinese spying device.
Yeah,
so
or influence device, I think, is more the concern.
Influence device, yes, that is probably more accurate.
Potentially spying, I guess, but yeah.
That part is bad. I don't have a problem with
Right.
it being a Chinese app, but the fact that they're like, "Hey, let's control the minds of Americans." Okay,
That's
probably bad. My real problem with it is like it's a zombification tool. It just turns kids into zombies.
It is.
It's
It is
crazy.
pretty rough.
We had a babysitter one time, and we came home and we're like, "Hey, did TV work? Did you watch something? What did you do?" She's like, "Oh no, I just looked at TikTok."
TV, yeah.
Just looked at TikTok. We were gone for
5
3
hours.
The videos are like 30
It's a lot of
seconds.
swiping,
What
yeah.
are you doing?
Yeah, I know, man.
And I was like, good Lord. Like, I get being addicted, which we should talk about sometime because I have some new anti-addiction tools for
okay.
yeah.
Well, we can do that.
I get being addicted, but like TikTok is weapons grade. It is another level of addiction and brain rot, in my opinion.
Yeah. I tend to agree. It's also really funny, like this where, obviously, whatever. I don't want to get into the deep politics of it, but the idea of like when you even see the things about how like in China, TikTok is like it's like all educational stuff.
Math.
And then like in America, obviously it's just like all insane stuff, right? And there is normal stuff too. So I'm sure I know people who use it and like it, and they're like, I don't think they're like necessarily on beheadings all day or whatever, but it's like, or crime in New York City, right? All these things that could, if you push the algo, it's like, oh, like if you're in the red state, we're going to push to you how San Francisco and New York are falling apart.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're in a blue state, we're going to push to you how these hicks are doing whatever, right? Whatever. So, I think that is probably bad and not optimal to allow an adversarial government to do.
Crazy.
So, yeah, I don't know. But it is interesting seeing people, like my kids are like, oh yeah, like all our friends are totally freaking out. Like they can't believe it. Like this is the end times that TikTok's going away. So
I'm sure. I mean, when I block Twitter on my phone, I still pick it up and I'm like, oh shoot, it's blocked. So I get it. Like I fully am sympathetic to that. But I think it's worth fighting that urge because it's not a good thing.
It's all crazy. But okay, so you're not a TikTok man though. So you're not in there. Man. You didn't cry yourself to sleep the other night being like,
not
I can't
for that
get to
reason.
TikTok.
No.
Okay.
Nope.
Well, what's your? I don't know. Do you want to give us your tips or no? Or you want to save that for another day?
I got a whole thing on getting my brain back. But here's what we can end on. It's slightly different, but I want to get your take on it as the Godfather. I have a theory about. So I was on somebody's podcast the other day talking about PHP and like, why it's still here, that like shape of the community, that sort of thing. And just out of the clear blue sky, I came up with this concept of the like the evolutionary pressure that shaped the PHP community into what it is today. And I stated that evolutionary pressure was PHP has never been cool. Like it's never been the cool kids that use PHP.
Yeah.
Cool kids have always been probably Ruby and then now JavaScript. And so that evolutionary pressure has led the PHP community primarily to care about shipping things and putting things out there versus being like super into the way that our ecosystem like does a certain engineering type thing.
Right.
So my stipulation, and this is what I want your take on, my stipulation is that the PHP community is very much a hackers community and a community of like predominantly like product builders and not technological navel gazers. What is your response?
I totally agree. I think it's people who are not necessarily, for various reasons. I don't think it's only like product shipping, but I think it's people who are not necessarily concerned as a top priority. I won't not at all, but as a top priority of like, let's call it like code sophistication or like even quality, let's say. Not they want their code to be bad, but they are not like, boy, what is the optimal pattern for optimal performance of this? When I show it to my friends, they're going to be very proud of how smart I was to figure this out. Like, that's not the vibe it's generally had. It's more like, this is a tool. So how can I use this tool to do the thing I want to do? And sometimes tools are imperfect and the person using them is imperfect. And we're okay with all that because we're not primarily concerned with the tool in and of itself. We're concerned with being able to do whatever it is we want to do and it being flexible. That's where like PHP hasn't really broken too much over the years because it kind of leans into that. Like it's been crazy. This like it's stayed alive by being like, hey, if we break it for everybody, then that's going to be the point where people will be like, well, maybe I should just use Ruby. This is the time because it's going to be hard to do this next upgrade. So I should just look for something else instead. And no, it's like we just keep making it easy for the most part with a few little exceptions. And and big, things like WordPress that I think have been super important. And that feeds in like this like basic CMS thing that feeds into like people can just pick it up and they start by using CMS, then they want to do something, so they pick up a little PHP, and that's like a nice community where you can do that, and people aren't yelling at you that you're an idiot because you're not, your code isn't sophisticated enough, and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I totally agree, and
it's like a working person's language.
It's a working, it's like it's like the tool belt of your carpenter kind of thing. It's like practical and functional. It is weird. I do think there's always this pressure, and you see it obviously now. Like it used to be the Ruby people, now it's the JavaScript people are like, no, like perfection is important. We got to have the TypeScript on top of the JavaScript on top of the thing. It's all got to be perfect and structured and frameworks and this and all this stuff. Everybody needs to get paid $500,000 to make this code because you have to know 8 million things to do it, and like. There's like that energy there a lot, I feel like, right? So hopefully PHP still has a bright future. I would hate for it to go away because I love the PHP and I love this vibe it has. And
it's not going anywhere. Yeah. It's only getting stronger.
That's what I hope. That's what it seems like.
I think that is Laravel is PHP at this point. Just so everybody's clear, WordPress is something.
WordPress is still
fundamentally different. It is written in PHP, but it is fundamentally different than like PHP, the programming language.
It's unfortunate. See, it's actually. I mean, WordPress and Laravel are kind of the same thing because everybody uses WordPress as a framework. Like WordPress is just a framework for different types of tools, right? And so like. I wish WordPress wasn't sort of losing its mind. And I mean, obviously it's really losing its mind lately, but even before that, it's always kind of kept to itself. I feel like it's its own little world.
It is its own ecosystem for sure.
And I feel like it would be nicer if like WordPress and Laravel were somehow not the whole like put WordPress on Laravel thing, but just like the ecosystem wise, I feel like there's something there to like getting those worlds together more in some way, because those are the two big tentpole
Yeah. I don't know.
frameworks essentially.
I don't buy it.
Not a
They're
believer.
great. I'm happy for them, but I don't think
Yeah,
the near the twain shall meet. I don't think
I don't
they'll
know
mix
about
very
that.
well.
See, I know I think I've heard Taylor talk about this, and I think it is an issue in general. Is that when you have people, how do you get the next developers, right? So like we're
Oh
all
yeah,
here.
that's
How
the
do you get the next
problem.
developers?
Yeah,
Right. And so like to me, like WordPress is the most natural path into PHP, even more than Laravel, because that's where you get just a pure tinkerers. Like I was using this thing, I ran this
yeah,
website, now I need to do something. And okay, let me figure out how this works. I go into this template, I see these functions, I figure out what all that means, and I can tweak it and whatever. You know, Laravel's already a step above that. It's like, okay, I have to like, I have a whole idea for something that's already a full, more complete idea. I'm going to use this framework to build it. We're going to have to understand a fair amount of stuff kind of already, and still way lower requirement than like if you want to do a JavaScript based version. But I do feel like for that getting people from the grassroots, that's kind of
mm-hmm.
an interesting path. Whereas like the JavaScript angle, I feel like that's where like schools are going to go to. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
if you want to be a professional developer, you're going to do all this JavaScripty stuff, and that's going to be those kind of things. But I don't know if PHP is ever going to work. PHP's never been the language of the
The boot
college
camps, yeah.
class, right? And even the boot camps and things like that. So I think you need a way in, and like to me, WordPress is that way in. So there's something there.
I
Maybe
don't
I mean
know.
Laravel not having its own WordPress fully, like you have the paid CMSs.
Mm-hmm.
And there are obviously open source CMSs on Laravel, but none of them are obviously a tiniest fraction of
Right.
WordPress. So I don't know, something there.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I buy that that's the route people take. I think if
Mm,
I feel like building something on a CMS and building an app, I feel like are different paths in people's minds. So like if you're going to build something on a CMS, you might pick WordPress, although these days you'll probably pick who knows what, Webflow,
right.
Squarespace,
There's
whatever any of
other
these
you're on
other ones are.
Squarespace, yeah.
And if you're going to if you're like I want to build a SaaS or some sort of application, you're going to pick Next on Supabase or one of these other things. I think the challenge is not like Laravel getting over to get those, content system starters. It's getting those Next.js starters. And I think, they just hired Tony, I think his name is Tony Lee,
Right.
to build starter kits. And I think that
Mm,
that's what people want. And
right.
I continually am like slapped in the face by this because I continually think people want to learn things deeply. And then I look at what's selling and, in the broad ecosystem, and it's like, this starter kit sold 4,500 copies at $300 each. And I'm like, oh, people don't want to
Right.
learn things. They just
Right.
want to have things done for them. That's
Yeah, they
interesting.
like it. They like that.
So I think the starter kits are going to go a long way. And
Kelly, though, I think I do have a different view of that, honestly.
really,
Yeah, because to me, the starter kit isn't for people who don't know how to program and are just learning or have an idea. Like they can be for that, but they don't even know
mm-hmm.
that exists. Like the starter kit, like I would buy a starter kit because it's like, hey, I know all this bullshit template stuff. I like all the like boilerplate crap that is
Right.
super annoying. And I just want to get to the part where I get right to my business logic. And I don't want to
Yes.
build the login, and I don't want to build
Hate the
pages of
login.
manage staff and all an invite system and all the stuff. Right? I just don't want to do any of that. I want to get all the way as deep as I can into the business logic, because most of the time I don't even finish these projects. And the closer I get to actually doing the part that's the part that the thing is going to do that's custom, the closer I am to actually shipping something versus
Yep.
like spending 2 weeks on all the stuff you need to even do to get to the part where you do the business logic. So I kind of feel like the people who are new to programming or newish to programming, that's not even like they're still a step behind that. Like they still have to get their feet wet or a taste for it someplace
I
else
don't
first.
know. I watch these people that like follow Mark Liu, the ship fast guy. I don't know if you've
Who
heard of
that
him.
goes?
I do not follow him, but I know who he is.
Okay.
And I feel like he is basically he's like a kind of like a Peter Levels that can code a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
And his whole vibe is like he's got the whole like ship anything you want and do 100 projects in a week and see what works.
Right.
And he sells a starter kit, and that's the one I'm referencing that sold like 4,500
Right.
copies or something.
Right.
And I think from what I can tell from the outside, his audience is primarily like people that are very new to programming or haven't been programming at all, and they buy a starter kit and then kind of like use AI and whatever else,
Right.
like hack around inside of this like starter kit framework.
That's even something kind of different, don't you think? Because it's like, that's not, if he just released a starter kit and didn't build the audience of people who aren't programmers but want to be, it would do
Yes.
nothing, right? So like Laravel could ship a bunch of starter kits, but I think most of the people using these Laravel starter kits are going to be people who already know Laravel.
Already use Laravel.
And
Yeah,
I think
maybe.
95% people who know Laravel and are like, great, like I like Jetstream. And now this is like a step beyond Jetstream where I can have like big chunk of my app ready to go of all the boilerplate crap. And now I can just get to the business logic and I don't have to do all that stuff anymore. And, or, you know, I'm building a back office system where I don't care if it looks like every other Laravel app. Who cares? Like, it's fine because I just needed to do what I needed to do and I can skip all those steps. And I'm sure you get some new people in there, but I think they need a guy like that who's like, hey, you want to learn to program? This is the best place to learn to program, right? And yes, we have the starter kit, AI tools, and Laracon. We have all this stuff, right? Like we have all the courses and whatever to help you once you decide you want to do it. But we have to get the people.
I'll do that. I'll get the people.
They want to do that. Yeah, get the people for us. Why are you doing that?
I'm working on it, Ian. I'm working on it. What do you think I'm doing over here?
Your audience, though. That's not your shtick.
It's not. No.
That would be a change of sticks. Yeah, I don't know. Can you change your stick like that? Under the Aaron Francis banner? I think it's a little tricky to run two sticks.
It's tricky to run two sticks. The sticks are malleable, though. And as long as we're not, you know, as long as we're a half step off of the current shtick, it's fine.
Yeah.
I don't want to be the like ship fast, ship crap, throw stuff against the wall guy. That's never going to work because I don't actually believe any of that. I do believe ship fast, but I think you should take pride in what you do because this is your one wild life. But you know, I don't know. I think I could get to a place where I'm like bringing net new developers into Laravel. I have historically occupied the lane of teaching intermediates more advanced things, which I enjoy, but you know, the market for that is small and shrinking.
There's a bigger market elsewhere. I actually think the Peter Level's coding style is actually the superior for getting new people in, because like PHP, that's like the real beauty of PHP, right? It's like, hey, take this one file, throw it on a server, learn how to FTP it to a server, right? Or to some upload thing. And you can output something dynamically. Okay, then you can learn how to do the next thing and the next thing. It's all in this one file, right? And like that's like where you can think somebody in who wasn't a computer science major or whatever and all stuff. Because like once you get down into class, you know, it starts to get fairly complicated pretty quickly. And especially once you now we're going to use React and we're going to have an API and then we're going to talk to the API, whatever. Like, and even things like Livewire or whatever, like it requires the mental model of what's going on, which is pretty hard to grasp early on, I think, for a lot of people. Like if you don't really understand HTML and the server and how the network is interconnected between them and stuff, like there's a lot there that you have to learn before you're going to really even be able to do.
You're 50 layers of abstraction. So it's going to be hard to bring somebody up to speed.
The more you're like, hey, this is just a thing on a server. You just edit the thing on the server. It's produced on the server. That's and you point your browser at it. You know, like that for the very early people. Obviously, pretty quickly you move past that and then whatever, you layer up from there. But like, that real baseline of like, how do I get people in? Like even Laravel, like it's going to be very hard for somebody who's never programmed to start with Laravel. You know, because there's just a lot you kind of have to know. And so I do think there's something there. There's a spot there in our world for that, for sure. So maybe it'll be the Aaron Francis will be there.
Maybe so. Maybe Project X or this thing I'm announcing at Laracon EU. Maybe that'll be a step in that direction.
Maybe it will be. Who knows? We don't know.
We don't know. We call that foreshadowing, folks. It's a literary device. All right. Geez. Anything else?
Yeah, I think we're good.
That was as far as mostly goes, that was mostly technical.
It was mostly technical.
Yeah.
So people can't complain.
No.
They got several weeks now. This should hold them over.
Yeah.
They got all their
We got a
technical
little how
stuff.
to make friends up front, but then we went mostly technical.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Thanks, everybody. I'm not reading the stuff. We're done
Don't
reading
do
the
it.
stuff. Go to mostlytechnical.com. That's it. All the stuff's linked from there. Everything you possibly want. That's where it is.
If you can't find us, that's on you.
Yeah. We don't want your business then, all right?
Yeah.
We're a higher level dev, right?
Exactly.
All right. See you later.
All right.
Thanks,
Bye.
everybody.